Everyone, this is Marie Sullivan, and in Susan's absence as Secretary of the Governing Board, I'll be conducting tonight's meeting. So would like to wish you all a good afternoon, good evening, and also a happy new year. Here we are in 2026. This is our first gathering all together, and I can't see you, but I hope you all had an enjoyable holiday season and were able to achieve some relaxation and enjoyment as we kick off a great 2026. So with that, I'd also like to announce that we are live captioning our meetings. Please look in the chat window of our WebEx meeting where you will find a link. Please click on that link to open a web page with the live captioning. So with that, at this time, I call to order the special meeting with action, followed by the agenda review of the Maricopa County Community College District Governing Board for January 13, 2026. Today, we will review the agenda for the January 27, 2026 board meeting after we hold our special meeting. So let the record reflect it is 4:43 p.m. on the 13th as we open this meeting. And for the record, I will call roll of board members. Ms. Pamela Smith.
Present.
Thank you. Ms. Butler. Ms. Butler, are you there? Those are beautiful chimes. I don't know if that means yes or no. We'll move on. Elsa, do you know, is she on and just can't communicate?
She called in.
Okay. So does she have access to talk with us?
Yes. Let me. Oh, she can't unmute. Hold on.
I'll move on and come back to that. Ms. Davis?
Present.
Thank you. Dr. Narini?
Present.
Thank you. Ms. Smith, Jacqueline Smith?
Present.
Thank you. Dr. Thor?
Finally present.
And with my presence, I'll go back to Ms. Butler. Are you present? All right. For the record, I just need to identify.
Present.
Oh, there you are. Yay. Thank you.
Oh, yay. Thanks everyone for all the tech support. I'm here.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. With that, there are 6 governing board members present. Ms. Bittersmith is not able to join us this evening, and I have our student trustee with us as well. So moving into our agenda, we have the item for the special meeting, approval of the intergovernmental agreement between the Arizona Department of Education and Rio Salado College for the adult education program. The program's effective dates are July 1, 2025 to June 30, 2026. Is there a motion to approve the IGA between the Department of Ed and Rio Salado College as noted? Do you have a motion?
So moved.
And that is
Davis.
Thank you. Ms. Davis, is there a second?
Second.
Second, this is Kelly.
Okay, well, I heard both of you, Dr. Narini and Kelly. Dr. Narini, I think you spoke first, so we'll say Dr. Narini. Thank you, though, Kelly. So is there any discussion on the motion?
Yes, Ms. Secretary, it's Donna, and I was wondering why we're just seeing this when this grant started. I mean, I'm fully supportive of adult education, but it started on July 1st, and I'm wondering if the Department of Ed is paying us like they're supposed to, or if there's some kind of a problem for why we're just now seeing this. So
Thank you.
that's my
Dr.
question.
Gonzalez, do you have an answer for us on that?
Yes, Dr. Davis, Secretary Sullivan. I'm going to see if Dr. Britt or Dr. Smith, President of Rio, would be able to respond to your question.
I think Kate
Britt
Smith
or
can
Kate?
speak to this more specifically. Kate, are you on?
Sorry, but I don't see Dr. Smith on. Let me reach out to her.
I can speak
Can
to
you
the
hear me
next.
now?
Oh, there she is. Good deal.
Yeah, sorry, I've been on the whole time. My speaker was acting up. My apologies. This is Kate Smith from Rio Salado College, Secretary Sullivan, Ms. Davis. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak to this. If you recall, last summer, there was some hiccups at the federal level about the monies for this programming being dispersed, and so it was dispersed later than the normal cycle. That then in turn, the Department of Education was in a different cycle of putting together what they normally do, our contracts. This is the first year they have done this as an IGA. And they have just rolled this out. So this is the first time we have had access to it. And hence why we've asked for this special session so that our teams are able to access this funding by the January 20th submission date, which is for the second quarter of funding, but they will allow all programs to apply for first and second quarter.
Okay,
Thank
thank you.
Thank you. And thank you so much for this special session so we could do this.
Sure. So thank you. Ms. Davis, does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Perfect. Any other discussion on the motion? Being none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please vote by saying aye.
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 Are there any opposed? With no opposition by a vote of 6-0 and including our student advisory vote, the IGA between the Department of Ed and Rio Salado College is approved. So congratulations, thank you, good luck. Now we're going to move to the second part of our meeting this afternoon, and that is to look at the agenda for the upcoming meeting on January 27. As you note, there will be a prior special meeting for the election of governing board officers. We will meet at 4:30 for that special meeting. That will be followed by a study session regarding the fiscal year 27 budget. That will convene at 5 p.m. And there will be more information, I believe, following on that. Then concluding that study session, we will move into our regular meeting beginning at 6:30. There will be the normal course of actions with call to order, pledge of allegiance. We will have our student life reports, our faculty executive council report, adjunct faculty, staff representation, and the chancellor's report. From there, we will move into citizens interim, and then that will be followed by consideration of our consent agenda. Following Ms. Bittersmith's practice, there are 4 items of note that are on for consideration under the consent agenda item. Are there any comments or questions from governing board members on any of those 4 items? Okay, being none, is there an interest from any board member or the chancellor to pull an agenda item? Being none, then the consent agenda will stand as currently noted. And from there, we will go to the non-consent action items. There being none, we'll then move to first read and information. So noted, the first item is employment and separations for November 8 to December 5, 2025. Are there any comments or questions on that?
Secretary Sullivan,
Yes.
I believe you missed section G, non-consent action items. There's 3.
I'm looking at my script. I'm going to plead guilty here. And it says none. So,
No, there are 3.
okay then. Well, I believe you. I need to go to my agenda. Being that, then let's look at item 1 on that. And I apologize, but I honestly, okay. So is there any discussion on the first item under non-consent? We'll back up here. Is there any comment on item 2 of non-consent? None. Is there any comment on item 3 of non-consent? Okay, well, with that, and thank you, Dr. Thor, for bringing that to my attention again. And with that, I'll take us back to where I was speaking of first read information. So thank you. Is there any comment on employment and separations? Being none, we then move to the first read of a proposed tuition and fee schedule for fiscal year 26-27. Are there any comments or discussion on the item? I'm not going to call your names, board members, so if you just want to speak up, if you'd like to offer comment.
Secretary Sullivan.
Yes, Dr. Thor.
Before I can vote to raise tuition, the resident tuition by $8 an hour, I need to know what the recommendation will be regarding property tax. Is someone able to answer that this afternoon?
Dr. Gonzalez?
Board Member Solomon and Dr. Thor, thank you for your question. It's a good question. I'm going to invite Leanne to speak to that, and possibly Kim Granillo if she's available as well.
Thank you, Chancellor Gonzalez, Secretary Sullivan, and Dr. Thor. Appreciate the opportunity to speak on this item. So normally, Kim and I would be in front of you today in a study session to talk about the first look at the fiscal 27 general fund budget. We did want to make sure we had all board members present for that. So that's actually going to occur on the 27th. So the timing of this is a little bit unusual. So on the 27th, you will hear recommendations that come from the Advisory Budget Council on both tuition. And as you see, this is written in a fashion to talk about a kind of a not to exceed increase of a maximum of $8 per credit hour. So you'll see some options for tuition, but you will also see options for property taxes. So that's why the language is written a little bit loosely so that it continues to provide the governing board options as we get through that presentation on the 27th.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Thor. Do you have any other questions at the moment, Dr. Thor, since you have our attention?
No, that was it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments on this first read of this item?
Ms. Sullivan, I have a couple questions.
Yes, Dr. Narini.
Thank you. So I noticed on our schedule, the fee schedule, I noticed 4 highlights on the tuition and fee schedule. On the first page, I see the $8 increase highlighted for in-state tuition. And the second highlight is the $23 increase for out-of-state surcharge. So those other categories on that page, the only changes that are made for programs like the WUI and senior rate are based on in-state resident tuition. So those changes are only as a result of the increase in in-state tuition. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. We applied the same increase. Sorry, Dr. Marini, thank you for the question. We applied the same increase factor, that 8.25%, that is the standard tuition rate is increasing to those other rates as well.
Okay. And so so there's no other changes to any of the other tuition and fee categories on our schedule, except that we're no longer going to be collecting the administration fee for the GED students. That's highlighted on page 4.
I'm gonna thank you, Dr. Narini. I believe maybe that's the registration fee, but I'm gonna ask Kim Granillo to chime in on that in case I've missed something here.
Certainly. Thanks, Leanne. Kim Granillo, Dr. Narini, That is correct on the GED test administration. That is on page 4 for anybody who's looking at the schedule. That will now be paid by students directly to Pearson VUE, who is actually the entity that administers the exam. So it used to be a pass-through for us, and we won't be doing that anymore, which is why we wanted to remove it.
Okay, thank you. And then on page 3, the registration processing fee, it's highlighted, but I don't see a change. Is that just highlighted so that we know that it's charged each semester and not just once a year? I didn't know why it was highlighted.
Dr. Marini, it's highlighted because this is actually, I think, a really positive change that is coming out of the student lifecycle management group. Currently, if you enroll at more than one college in a semester, that registration fee is charged for each college you enroll in. We are recommending to change that so each student is only charged a registration fee once, regardless of the number of our colleges they are enrolling in.
Oh, great. That's fantastic. Thank you. Thank you. So have I missed anything? Are there no other increases in this schedule that we're looking at?
I believe all of the, Dr. Marini, I believe all of the changes are highlighted. Kim, am I missing anything?
No, you are not. So we've highlighted everything, but because Dr. Narini asked that question, I do want to point out that on page 5 of 6, we still have in there childcare fees for both Gateway and Mesa, and we have confirmed that we no longer need those fees. So I don't know if we'll do it as a revision to this document that you'll see for first read, or if we will include it in the February action item where we will zero out those fees. That should be the only other change that you will see. And my apologies for the error on that one.
Okay, thank you. So there's no increase on the out-of-state surcharge for students studying abroad, or the out-of-state military and veterans courses online, or the educational service partnerships and clock hour programs. So there's no increase in any of those, correct?
That is correct. Sorry to jump ahead of you, Leanne.
Nope. Thank you very much, Kim.
Okay, so that's good. I like it when there's no increases, but I see more than 80, including those that Ms. Granillo said that we're going to be taking out. There's more than 80 tuition and fee items on the schedule. Can you help us understand what consideration was given to the other items on the schedule and how they might have helped share the burden of the tuition increase if we had considered them?
Dr. Narini, what you're looking at here are recommendations for revenues that are deposited to the general fund. So the work of the Advisory Budget Council are really focused on, number 1, balancing the general fund, and number 2, increasing resources into the general fund that support the strategic initiatives that have been outlined by the Chancellor for the upcoming year. So there's different funds in which some of those other fees and fines are deposited in, but we really focused on general fund-based tuition in this recommendation.
So those other tuitions and surcharge on page 2, are they going into the general funds? Yeah, the ones for students studying abroad and the veterans and the educational service partnerships and the clock hour programs, do they go into the general fund or they go into specific other funds?
Clock hour goes into our auxiliary fund, Fund 2. And Kim, I'm less familiar with the others. Could you chime in on that?
Absolutely. Thank you, Leanne. So I might have to get back to you on a couple of these, Dr. Narini, but the educational service partnership rates, that goes into the auxiliary fund. And then out-of-state military and veterans online tuition, I believe that comes into the general fund as well. And just so that you know a little bit about our process, when we get to the stage where we are ready to bring the first read item to the board, so ahead of that, obviously, we will reach out to all of the colleges, especially those that have any types of special fees, and query them to find out if there are any additional changes that need to be made, along with whatever ABC might be proposing, such as what Leanne's talking about, those items that come specifically into the general fund. And we try to find out if there are any changes that are needed. You haven't specifically asked about the special fees that start on page 3, but a lot of those go into other funds besides the general fund and are very much tied to the cost of whatever it is that we are providing, such as that admin fee for the GED. It was a pass-through for us. Not every single one of these are pass-throughs, But we do work with the colleges to try to figure out if there are changes that need to be made. If there's anything in particular you would like for us to look into further, we're happy to do so.
Well, I guess I just would like to know which of these go into the general fund, and if they were considered, when we're looking at balancing the budget, if we had looked at any of those to consider to help take some of the burden off of just the tuition and that we're charging for students.
That's a very good question, Dr. Narini. And what I will promise you is that we will go back, we will look through each of these line items and figure out where they are deposited. I do believe the vast majorities of these, are not coming into the general fund, but it's definitely a very good question. So we will follow up on that, and I will get the entire board a response.
Yeah, and I certainly support what Kim is saying. What I would add in as well is I believe the lion's share, and by lion's share, really nearly all of our tuition and fee-based revenue that comes into the general fund is really associated with the general tuition numbers that you're looking at changing here. So I think the focus of ABC has been on what gets the biggest bang for the buck, so to speak, when we're looking to increase revenues.
Okay, I'm just concerned about what that bang does to our students. But moving on, the last time we raised tuition, I seem to remember that the board had decided that we're going to add an additional $2 to the proposed increase as a set aside for student support success. Has that happened?
Yes, Dr. Rainey.
And so are there any data reports or audits on how that money was used?
Yes, in fact, we can get more information to the board, but I can tell you it has been the exclusive funding source that we have used for the last nearly 2 years to increase staffing, both, temporary staffing for the most part, until we've been able to get our Salesforce products that the board approved in August up and running. So we plan to start rolling out those products in earnest next fall. But in the interim, we've used it to support additional staffing to help our students directly with enrollment.
Okay, and so what criteria are we using to measure the success of those, the use of those funds?
We have asked each of the colleges, there is a process that we've gone through to request funding and tell us specifically how the funding will be spent. And we've asked each of the colleges to identify key performance indicators and report on those. So we can certainly get you a report on what they've provided to date.
So we can get a report on how successful our efforts have been?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Another one I had was, I seem to recall that last summer, the board agreed to postpone the proposal we had to create a flat rate for the early college courses, so that it could be considered with the regular cycle of all the other tuition and fees. I'm surprised that I don't see it here.
So Dr. Narini, I can give you a little bit of background on that. So there's a college and high school task force. They did develop a recommendation related to dual enrollment tuition. They brought that recommendation to the Advisory Budget Council for consideration, and the Advisory Budget Council unanimously voted that recommendation down, as it was not consistent with an effort to increase revenues into the general fund to support strategic initiatives. So that is the short-term history on that, but we did invite the task force to come back to us with other recommendations. And I'd like to add in as well, one of the primary strategic initiatives that we identified when Kim and I presented to the board in November was in fact dual enrollment growth, or college and high school expansion. And so I would expect that if the board supports increasing revenues into the general fund, whether that's through a tax increase, a tuition increase, or a combination of the two, that you would see some of those resources going in to support our dual enrollment students. And so perhaps that could be something like an increase in the grant dollars that we provide to support students who need the financial support to meet the tuition.
Okay, and are we talking just dual enrollment or other early college programs that we have?
I think all of that is on the table, is my understanding.
So what is the process and timeline needed to get that recommendation regarding early college course tuition to be brought to the board for consideration? Is there a process and timeline for that?
You're focused exclusively on the tuition rate for early college?
Initially, yeah, that's one part of it, yes.
So I might ask Chancellor Gonzalez, perhaps you want to suggest as well, but as I said, we had the early college task in high school, or the college and high school task force made a recommendation to Advisory Budget Council. They did not support it, so it's not part of this tuition and fee schedule. If there is a desire for that process to work differently, I would look for guidance from the Chancellor on how that process might look.
So there is a way that the board can bring something like that forward then, is that correct?
I believe that the board sets the tuition rates. So the board, it's completely at the board's discretion what the tuition rates are, as well as the tax rate.
Okay, so thank you. So finally, I have a comment more than a question. So I understand that budgets are budgets and how complex they can be, especially for an institution our size. The excellent presentation on the budget that Ms. Greeneel and Ms. Bowman had given us a few months ago made it clear that revenue is needed if we're going to continue to provide the students with the quality of education that they deserve. As we look at the budgets and the spreadsheet with all the numbers and the lines, it's easy to sometimes forget what those numbers represent and the impact that they have. From what I know about budgets and what I know about tuitions at other institutions, an increase in tuition is not unreasonable. Still, I encourage us to take a step back and have a look. Not step back. On second thought, I invite you to come with me down into the weeds just for a second. An $8 credit, $8 per credit increase represents a $120 increase to full-time students taking 15 credits. If that student is working for minimum wage, they're earning $15.15 per hour. After taxes and deductions, that student, she'll bring home about $11 an hour. This means that she has to work an additional 11 hours to earn the money, just to earn enough money just to pay for this increase. At $105 per credit hour, one semester's worth of tuition is $1,575, which means that she'll have to work 143 hours to pay for her tuition just for one semester. That's 286 hours for the whole year. And this is all before the registration fees and the course fees and the textbooks are added. As we comb through the spreadsheets and the numbers, please keep in mind that what they represent and the impact that they'll have. So thanks for joining me in the weeds. It can get pretty messy down here, but that's where our students live. I hope we can all keep that in mind. Thank you.
Dr. Marie, board members, are there any other comments or questions to this discussion? Being none, I expect that all board members will look forward to the discussion of the budget and certainly look at the property tax issue as well. So we'll look forward to having that conversation. Concluding this discussion on first reads, we would then at the meeting move to monitoring reports. And then from there, we'll receive governing board reports and close out the meeting with the establishment of the following dates for February meetings. Board members, before I conclude, are there any other comments or questions regarding the agenda review items? Being none, then I'd like to say again, thank you this evening for your attention this evening. Also, thank you for your patience as we worked through some technical glitches. We got there, and thank you to the tech team for making it all happen. So this concludes our meeting, and thank you again, everyone. Let the record reflect that the board meeting has adjourned at 5:11 p.m. on January 13, 2026. Thank you.